You should have somebody that's going to be designated, 1 or 2 people, for communication, to keep all the phone numbers, to keep all the emergency contact information, not just within your group, but also at home, home-based kind of. That somebody's in charge, you're going to keep track of that. It's nice that if you have secondary phone numbers also while you're there. That, in other words, instead of just your home number, where your mother and father or guardian or whoever may not be there, may be at work, may be out, may have gotten sick themselves, things like that happen, that you have a second phone number, a secondary number, whether it be a neighbor, a relative, someone like that you can get a hold of while you're down there at camp. Okay, so, and I've got some booklets here. I'm going to hand them over to Mr. Thomas when I'm done to help you kind of make sure the numbers are in there, building plans, stuff like that. And I don't know if you're going to do it today, but I'd recommend there's enough in there for everyone. Take them home with you. Make sure that kind of stuff gets done before you go. Logistics, there ought to be at least 1 or 2 people trained with the logistics support, or your supplies, basically. And then everybody ought to actually cross-train, okay? I mean, that's kind of what Special Forces does, right? Those guys all cross-train where they can all fill in for each other if they need to. So those kind of areas I understand are already being designated. It's important that you do that. Don't take it lightly. Don't take the job lightly. Your troop, if you're the first aid go-to person, know it. You know, don't let your troop down. Don't let your buddies down. I always talk about practicing as a minimum. You should practice before you head that way. What are you going to do before you guys come up missing at one of the spots? You know, what kind of procedure do you have in place? What is it that you're going to actually, whether it's a phone tree or whether it's the hug-a-tree thing, you need to have, when they set a time for you to regroup and come back and muster, you need to be on time. I know when I went through, and one of the things I did mention is I spent a lot of time here myself. My son, Caleb, became an Eagle Scout in 2007, so I've been through from Tiger Cubs up through the Eagle Scout process. So, and I'll tell you what, to be an ex-military in the job I'm in, I did not put up with anybody being late. They better have a broken leg, come in bleeding, or something, because I expected you to be here on time. Because if not, then that throws an alert out to everyone else. You know, you can't cry wolf, you can't come back late, and not expect everyone else to be at least in some sort of search mode. That should be the expectation. You should kind of prepare for what kind of disasters they have. Virginia's not that much different than us. You're looking at, you know, what kind of emergencies do we have around here? Natural disasters. Anybody? Fires, blizzards,
earthquakes,
thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, right? That's what they got in Virginia too. So you need to kind of have plans for, you do the same thing in a fire as you do with a tornado.
Drop and roll?
No, if you're here, you leave, right?
Yeah.
If you're in a building, fire, you leave. If it's a tornado, what do? You just stay in the building in a safe area. So you need to know those kind of things. When you get to the camp, one of the first things I'd like to see you do is make sure you find out where are the severe weather shelters at, where are the tornado shelters at. You're going to be out there on the most part on open ground, aren't you?
Yeah.
Not a good place to be in a severe thunderstorm. So you need to understand where are the best spots for sheltering. Get that, one of the first things you do when you get there. Okay? Is there any questions yet? Nothing? I'm just that clear. All right. Talk about what happens. I think you're going down there kind of as a caravan. Called cars, summer cars, bus.
Yeah.
So you're going to be one bus.
Yep.
Good. That's good. So you won't have a caravan. They can be a little more dangerous. A bus is good, but buses can get into accidents too. So you ought to talk about, you know, what are we going to do if we have to evacuate the bus? Buses are built like tanks. Somebody's cut a couple of them apart. They are built solid and like a tank. You've got to use the exits or the windows. There's no kicking the doors out or kicking the floors out. So know where those exits are at. Have people to help lead. Always be orderly, things like that. But, you know, sort of be prepared also as the what ifs. What if we're in an accident here and the front end of the bus is crushed? You know, okay, we need to make sure we get out, it's orderly. One of the things you see most injuries from are when people panic and run over each other. Okay, that's the last thing we need to do as scouts, right? Be aware of, this is kind of a sensitive subject. I'll try to be careful with it, but there is a lot of criminal activity. I've already mentioned like predators that kind of key on license plates, people that doesn't, that they know that's not from the area. I take great concern. I share with Archer a little bit that your camp is kind of like a target in and of itself for some people. And I'm not into racial stereotyping or anything like that because you can't do it. Anybody remember Timothy McVeigh? He blew up the FBI building in Oklahoma City. I think it was '92. He looked just like me. Ex-military, short-cut hair, looked just like me. So you really can't stereotype and say, well, this is a terrorist, this isn't. But there are people out there that do want to change our way of life, want to change, that just doesn't like the way we live as Americans. And what epitomizes America more than scouting? And we're going to have how many, 1,400 of you guys down here, something like that?
40,000.
40,000. Oh my goodness. I mean, again, I don't want to dwell on that, and I don't want to worry anybody too much. But what a target. What a target that is. And I've got some stuff, some literature in here also about, the 7 signs of terrorism, kind of what to watch out for. And I got enough for each one of you. So, I'll give this to Mr. Thomas, and he'll make sure that he distributes to the troop leaders and gives them to you. So the idea is just to keep your eyes open, stay alert, look for people in the area that don't blend in, and report it. Most important, don't be afraid to do that. The most likely thing you'll have at camp will be some type of medical emergency. Somebody will get cut, somebody will get, fall, might get a broken bone. We do have people with diabetes, things like that are scouts and leaders that can have reactions, bee stings, anaphylaxis. People are allergic to bee stings. That could be life-threatening, actually. I've seen guys' throats close from a bee sting. So we need to make sure that, again, that we're on our toes. The people with first aid know where their basic supplies at, knows where the secondary system comes into place, which is usually a squad or a medic unit. How do you get a hold of them and get them there? Those kind of things you need to know the minute you get down there. I already mentioned finding the shelters when you get there. Yes, sir.
Real quick, like for people who are allergic to these things, if you have that, let people know where you're.
EpiPen.
Yeah.
If you are allergic, how many at least at some point have been stung in their life at this point? Okay, most of you. Okay, the ones I worry about, the ones that never gotten stung, because you just don't know how they're going to react.
Does anybody carry EpiPen with them?
No.
One does carry one?
Okay.
That's one of the things you can carry. Most medicines you can't carry with you. That's when you can.
And they're pretty awesome. I mean, when you need them, man, it's just like using morphine in the field. I mean, you hit your leg with it and then take care of your. I've seen them work just as quick as morphine. I mean, they work very quick, instantaneous, but you got to have it. So make sure you do carry that stuff or have it checked in. I'm not sure of the processes, but and kind of know those people. You don't want to point them out too much, but you do want to be aware of that, especially if it's your buddy. Help keep an eye on them, and as they're keeping an eye on you. One of the things I didn't mention was know where the shelters are at. You also, when you get down to camp, you ought to find out what the warning system is. Do they have a series of horns that go off? What do they sound like? You need to find out because, when it comes to an in-sheltering place or an evacuation of the area, normally there's some sort of sirens that's used or a radio system, intercom system, but you don't want to be wondering, what's that horn for the day of the show? Okay? As the clouds are coming over. You want to know what it's for, what's it sound like, what am I supposed to do now? Because normally the scouts are prepared. They're organized, they know what they want you to do, but it's communicating that to you. I'm not a believer either in spoon-feeding people. You are expected to go find out. Okay, that's just part of your job, of being prepared. Don't expect to be good spoon-fed. If you're in there and you